Uruguay. Montevideo, the capital and the largest city of Uruguay and also the administrative center of Department of Montevideo. Etymology. The city is founded in 1726 AD of Saint Philip and received the verbose name. Typical for those times, Saint Philip's city of the harbor of Montevideo. So far from the original version of the name, only the word Montevideo, concerning which etymology long discussions are conducted, remained. Among experts there was a consensus on the fact that Monte component in the name treats the mountain, hill, of Cerro de Montevideo, which is on the bank of the Gulf Montevideo, but in the relation the video components are available big disagreements. The most widespread versions. Montevideo as saw the mountain. Extremely widespread version according to which the name comes from the Portuguese phrase meaning "I saw the mountain," which was allegedly said by one of participants of an expedition of Ferdinand Magellan at a view of Cerro de Montevideo. Most of experts carries this version to number of toponymic legends, as the given expression contains a combination of words from various dialects. Montevideo. This hypothesis proceeds from a fragment of the navigation calendar of the boatswain Francisco de Albo, the dick of an expedition Ferdinand Magellan, in which it is noted. On Tuesday mentioned month of January 1520 we were in the passage Cape Santa Maria, from where the coast goes west from the east, and the area sandy, and to the right of the cape there is a mountain similar to a hat, to which we gave the name Montevideo. It is the oldest document in which the cape with the name similar to the name of the city, but which doesn't contain a mention of alleged exclamation of the participant of an expedition is mentioned. Montevideo. According to Professor of History Rolando Lagarde-Trias, Spaniards attributed the geographic location of the mountain of Cerro de Montevideo on the Carta de Portolina in such a way that she looked the sixth on the coast when swimming across Rio de la Plata from the east on the west, and eventually this abbreviation was transformed to Montevideo. Environment. Montevideo, with an area of territory of 540 km, is located on the bank of the Gulf La Plata of the Atlantic Ocean. In city boundaries there is one of the largest natural harbors of the southern cone, with the most loaded seaport, Mercosur. Relief of the urban area hilly, the highest point, the 136-meter mountain in the west of the city of Cerro de Montevideo, at which top there is a beacon. Natural vegetation is presented by the herbs and bushes characteristic of a zone of savannas. Within the city grow the trees generally delivered from Europe: an oak, a pine, and eucalyptus, a plane tree. At the coast are characterized by the increased salinity and strong inflows. The main river, Santa Lucia, bordering the city from the west. Climate of Montevideo, the subtropical damp, bearing a faint resemblance climate of Sochi. Summer damp and hot. The winter is damp, windy and cloudy, during invasion from Antarctic of cold strong winds. Tempera. Frosts and loss of hoarfrost are possible. Sometimes there are storms, but not tropical cyclones. Average temperature of January, plus 23 C, July about plus 10 C. Annual average temperature, plus 16.7 C. The lowest registered temperature, minus 5.6 C. The highest, plus 42.8 C. An average annual amount of precipitation, about 1000 mm. Dropout, mainly during the period from June to September. Winter. The population of Montevideo in 2011 was 1.3 million people, however city agglomeration contains nearly 2 million, that makes about 58% of all population of Uruguay. In the city, descendants of the Spanish and Italian emigrants live in the basic Creoles. In the middle of the beginning of the 20th century, the population of Montevideo considerably was replenished with immigrants from Western Europe, Spaniards, Italians, the French. Uruguay is considered one of the most white countries of Latin America. During the Spanish colonization and anti-Indian wars, the indigenous people was almost completely exterminated. In Montevideo there is one of the oldest Armenian communities of South America. In the city there is the Jewish community, which is one of the biggest in Latin America. State language Spanish. The local Uruguayan dialect. Option of Ariaplatsky dialect. Has a number of features, in particular L and sometimes Y, J. Feature of addition of language at which the sound gets hissing hum. B-sides are present at a dialect about 90-100 words, unclear to Hispanic people from other countries. Most of residents of the capital speak Spanish and other European languages. About a half of the population belongs to the Roman Catholic Church. Also Methodist and Anglican religions are widespread. Administrative division. In 2010 the city was divided into 8 municipalities, for each of which inhabitants elect its head, an alcalde. Or 2 an alcaldes. If the head, the woman. Division was carried out for advance of administrative and political decentralization to Montevideo, for the purpose of deepening of democratic participation of citizens in management of the city. Alphabetic codes from A to G are assigned for municipalities. In 1680 Portuguese built on the left coast of the Gulf La Plata opposite to Buenos Aires, the fortified city of Colonia del Sacramento. This fort was base of smugglers who illegally imported goods into Buenos Aires. For a fight against smugglers in 1726, Spaniards based the fortress of Montevideo located at an entrance to the Gulf. Thus, they had an opportunity to control both coast of La Plata. Soon Montevideo became important shopping center of the province East Coast, which in 1750 was finally assigned to Spain. In 1766 he was a part of the Vice-Kingdom La Plata, which capital was a city of Buenos Aires. In the 18th century of the steppe with dense natural vegetation and big herds of the run wild cattle promoted inflow on east coast of the European immigrants. The Spanish colonial authorities encouraged creation of large-scale cattle breeding enterprises, estancia, and hoped to strengthen the position in this area successfully to render counteraction to claims of Portuguese and British on possession of this territory. By the end of the colonial period, 1800, the population of the province East Coast was about 30,000 people, a third from them lived in Montevideo, they become her main town. The top classes of capital society were presented by landowners, merchants, financiers and government officials. Most of them were natives of Catalonia, the Basque Country or the Canary Islands, and had no especially close ties with the royal court in Castile. Besides, in the city there lived dealers, military, officials of average and lowest level, handicraftsmen. Approximately the third part of the population was made by the brought Arab slaves. Gradually between Montevideo and Buenos Aires there was a rivalry. Many residents of the province felt hostility to the authorities of the Vice Kingdom. Montevideo kept loyalty to the mother country, that led to strengthening of hostility between two cities. In 1816 Montevideo was captured by the Portuguese Brazilian interventionists until 1828 was in structure of Brazil. During the Brazilian War of Independence in 1823 Montevideo, defended by Portuguese, was taken by the Brazilian troops. In August 1828 the city became the capital of independent Uruguay. From 1836 to 1852 the country constantly was exposed to invasions of the Argentina troops headed by the dictator Juan Manuel Rosas. In 1843 he assisted Conservative Party of Blanco in implementation of blockade of Montevideo. Sea flotillas of Great Britain and France which blocked Buenos Aires were involved in war. Thanks to it, residents of Montevideo sustained a siege and blockade, and within 9 years didn't stop resistance. Only in 1852, after Rosas's overthrow, the serious threat of independence of Uruguay was eliminated and blockade is raised. Industry development began with the end of the 19th century in Montevideo. The capital became the center of the Uruguayan labor movement. In 1918 there took place Massachusetts demonstrations in support of the October Revolution in Russia. In 1936 the movement for creation of the National Front began, and in 1938 on the city the wave of performances of the workers demanding democratization of the power in the country swept. The second half of the 20th century became the period of political performances and race for power of representatives of the liberal and conservative parties. The most significant performances of opposition to the existing mode took place in Montevideo in November 1983 when 400,000 people gathered for a protest. At a turn of the 20-21 century, thanks to carrying out reforms on restructuring of economy and trade liberalization, in the country the economic recovery promoting growth of industrial capacity of the largest cities and, first of all, Montevideo as the capitals of Uruguay is observed. Old Montevideo adjoining port is constructed according to the regular plan in the beginning of the 19th century. Here, on the main square of the city, a richly decorated cathedral which combines lines of Baroque and Classicism. 1790-1804. And the house of the colonial period with courtyards. To the west from port the industrial and working region of Montevideo, Villa del Cerro was located. The rectangular network of his streets from the Gulf La Plata is limited to Hill Cerro, which gave the name to the city. Montevideo, in translation into Russian, means, "I see the hill." On the hill the fort constructed in 1809-1839 towers. Among considerable constructions in the architectural relation the Solis, 1841-1874. Theatre constructed in style of Classicism, the eclectic building of Parliament. 1908-1920. The new town hall which personified the most typical lines of architecture of the 20th century. 1930. Engineering and Geodetic Faculty of Republican University. 1938. The multi-storied building of Panamericano. 1957. Deserve attention. The abundance of monuments to generals testifies to a big role of army in political life of Uruguay. Besides, in the city there are monuments to colonist immigrants. Van. 1929-1934. And Stagecoach. 1953. Both are made of bronze. In Montevideo, the National History Museum, Natural History Museum, the Pedagogical Museum, the National Museum of Fine Arts, the Municipal Museum of Fine Arts, Zoological Museum, etc. Work. There are a planetarium and 2 zoos. In the capital of Uruguay, the largest higher educational institution of the country, the Republican University, founded in 1849, and also technical college under which supervision special educational institutions not only in Montevideo, but also under other cities of the country is located. In particular, in Montevideo, 2 industrial educational institutions, electrotechnical, construction and shipbuilding colleges, and also colleges of trade, housekeeping, graphic art, applied art, office work and commerce are subordinated to him. Among the research establishments working in the city, it is necessary to call National Academy of Literature, National Engineering Academy, the National Commission on Atomic Energy, Institute of Geography and History, Astronomical Observatory, etc. In Montevideo, 10 libraries, among which National Library, 500,000 volumes. Libraries of faculties of the Republican University, Municipal Library, 20,000 volumes. The National Library of Congress, over 180,000 volumes. And Pedagogical Library, over 115,000 volumes. Are the largest. Since 1977, the annual International Book Fair is held to Montevideo. In the city set of theaters and auditoriums: Mercedes, Tinglado, Teatro del Centro, Circular, Ale, Club, Nuevo Stile, Odeon, Solis, Verdi, etc. In 1949 the National Conservatory was founded, and since 1890 Verdi's Institute works. In 1930 in the capital of Uruguay the FIFA World Cup was held. The Football Forum will forever become history of world soccer as the only tournament of such scale held within line of one city. Tightly to the championship in the center of Montevideo, the football stadium, Centenario, at which football players of the national team of Uruguay, having beaten Argentinians in the dramatic South American final, became the world champions in soccer. First in the history was built 120,000. Nowadays capacity is about 80,000. Superclásico of the Uruguayan soccer Peñarol, Nacional also passes in Montevideo. The city dominates in football life of Uruguay, which 90% of the population are interested in soccer. In total in the season 2007/08 in Premier of Uruguay on soccer of 14 of 16 clubs presented to Montevideo. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.